Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 404. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today we got Kevin Rickstraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hi.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Good to hear. This week on the show, we'll be getting weird with the psychological horror film Honeydew. Got some Honeydew.
Not about the fruit.
Also be going over someone watching on the watch list and going over this week's new releases on VOD and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That would be very helpful. Really nothing to report in housekeeping. The new episode of Saved by the 90s, we're going to be recording that this week. So stay tuned. I'm not going to give away the theme just yet, but it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one. I'm excited. As such, my watch list this week has been a little light because I've been watching stuff in preparation for that. But let's go ahead and jump into our review. Again, we're talking about Honeydew. This is directed by Devereaux Milburn. I have a synopsis here. Strange cravings and hallucinations befall a young couple after seeking shelter in the home of an aging farmer and her peculiar son. Now, if you see the trailer for this movie, you know you're in for something else. And if you see the poster for this movie, you definitely know you're in for something else because you got a very frightened looking man with like an oxygen mask on and somebody holding his eye open. So you know something.
Yeah, that's never a good sign.
Yeah. Something not so great is going to be happening to this guy. This is Sawyer Spielberg is in this. He's the main guy.
Yeah.
And Malin Barr. Barbara Kingsley is in this. She plays the woman that takes them in. So you have Malin Barr and Sawyer Spielberg as this couple out camping, and their car breaks down, and then it's your classic hillbilly horror style thing.
Mm-hmm.
Very 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 reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw. In fact, I saw somebody on Letterboxd say that this was a cross between Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the new Gretel and Hansel movie that came out, I think that was last year. And okay. I can totally see that. There are definite similarities there. Even the one of the things that I found really creepy about this was the black fingers. And I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself, but Barbara Kingsley's character, she has these her hands, some of her fingers are totally black at the tips, and that's how the witch was in Gretel and Hansel too. And I thought that was a really creepy thing in that movie as well. So anyway, Kevin, what were your initial impressions of Honeydew?
Initial impressions. I gotta say, I really didn't know anything about this movie, to be honest. I just remember hearing some good things when it played some festival earlier this year or last year, maybe. I'm not sure when. And I remembered to keep it on my radar. I got to check out Honeydew. So when it opens up and it kind of gives you this explainer of something that's going to be, play in with the rest of the movie, I got kind of excited. I like this kind of stuff. You got this toxic byproduct that occurs in wheat that you gotta remove from the wheat, and if you don't, this fungus is gonna fuck you up. So I love that kind of stuff. So I was pretty stoked. Early on in this movie, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was very enthralled. I really didn't know where it was gonna go, which is always exciting for me. I found that the main thing for me in this movie is the score / sound design. It's just bizarre.
Yeah,
it's really weird, and I loved it.
Yeah, I just want to touch on that because that was my number one highlight with this movie, was just all of the sound design. As you said, both the score, the sound editing, the mix, all of that was absolutely top notch. I mean, it takes the forefront in this movie. All of the music and sound is very deliberately in your face. Everything is accentuated to such a high degree. You hear every little thing, which tends to get very disturbing considering some of the stuff that happens in this movie. And I think that all the design work, how they incorporated the sound of the knife sharpening, like that sound into the score. I mean, I just thought all of it was absolutely top notch. And I think that maybe that has to, Devereaux Milburn, I believe it has a background with music videos. So maybe that has something to do with his focus on sound. But go ahead and continue your thought.
So yeah, all that stuff, it kept it very interesting for me. With the sound design, it was essentially something that I don't know if I've really seen or heard in the movie before. So it was something completely different. That coupled with the fact that I really didn't have any idea where this was going, that had me really, really excited. And all that really did for me, unfortunately, was lead me to have like a huge letdown because of where it did essentially go in the end, which did nothing for me. Just fell completely flat. And to me, it kind of came out, the end product kind of came out to, things I've seen before. It wasn't exciting and fresh like the first part of the movie was.
What you have here is a very unconventional opening. You have a very unconventional first two acts and then a very, very conventional final act where everything that plays out towards the end is unfortunately something that we've seen before, and it does fall a bit flat. I think that I completely agree with you that the build up is unfortunately more satisfying than the payoff, and where it goes is a little bit disappointing. I concur with you on that, which is a damn shame because I feel like this movie has a lot going for it. There were a lot of elements of this that I liked. I thought that the performances across the board were really solid. I mean, Barbara Kingsley, man, she plays the creepiest. She is so creepy in this.
Yeah, but she plays it so well in that it's kind of, there's like an ambiguity to it where she's creepy. She's creepy as all hell. But at the same time, you can kind of see that she's just a sweet old lady. She's going to be a little bit weird. She doesn't have great social skills. So you can kind of justify some of these things, but at the same time, in your heart of hearts that she's just creepy beyond belief.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that. Yeah, I mean, from the moment that they go into this house, that there's something not right here. It's very strange from the very beginning. Everything feels off. Everything feels not quite right, and I think a lot of that has to do goes back to the sound and the score, where everything from the first moments of this movie feels off kilter. Nothing feels quite right. And I really enjoyed that. I think that added a lot to the sort of strange nature of the movie in general, where you don't really know where it's going to go. You're like, what? Anything could happen at this point. Like, they could be in some kind of crazy nightmare. Is this all like some kind of wild hallucination? And that's the other thing is, like, I think that Devereaux Milburn avoided a lot of pitfalls, even though I think that he plays it too safe at the end. I think that one of the things that he does correctly is he doesn't lean too heavily into the hallucination aspect, the hallucinatory aspects of the movie. I was going to be really pissed if it turned out like, oh, they're just poisoned by the fungus spores and it's all like some kind of crazy drug trip. Like that would have really pissed me off.
And things got a little bit sketchy when they did do like the one little like dream sequence hallucination thing. And I was like, oh God, we're just going to do this for like the next 45 minutes, aren't we?
I was really, I thought, oh boy, here we go. This is like, we're pulling a Lynch now. Like here's the Lynch homage and the rest of the movie is just going to be like this. Mm-hmm. But fortunately, it's really only that one scene that is like goes into some like really surreal territory, but I think the rest of it is pretty standard.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
pretty understandable.
Yeah, it is kind of surprising that he holds back on that, given the subject matter and the numerous shots of the bread baking in the oven. I thought you were going to get a lot more of that.
Well,
Like, let's get funky with it.
I kind of like the idea of it being from the perspective of the two people who are not really like the infection hasn't like completely taken hold of them yet, like I would imagine that if the movie was told from the perspective of the farmer and the wife and the quote unquote son,
Yeah.
then it would be a lot trippier. I think whatever was going on in their heads was probably pretty wild. There's a lot of wild shit going on in their heads.
Oh, definitely.
I also liked most of the cinematography. I thought that a lot of the cinematography complemented the kind of bizarre nature of what was happening on screen. I liked all of the kind of like the split screen stuff that they would do, and whether I can't remember. I feel like there were some Dutch angles in there, but I can't remember for sure. But everything felt askew with the cinematography and framing and everything also, which I liked. I just like the vibe overall. And it's just doubly upsetting to me that it just turned out the way it did. Because again, it just becomes so conventional at the end. So it's a bummer.
And I think another thing that makes it worse in a sense is like there's a clear point for me in this movie where like everything just drops. Everything just comes apart, and it's they're outside with the table and everything.
Yeah,
and for some reason,
I know the exact I know the exact moment.
I mean, there's for some reason like that's introduced as like it felt like 10 minutes of them just sitting there and just Goonie fucking shaking. And I'm just like, are we not going to do anything anymore? Are we done? Are we just sitting around the table for 10 minutes?
I think that was the clear turn. Like that, I think most people who had issues with this movie, I think they could probably say, okay, yeah, that scene was when things took a turn. And from that point on, it gradually lost me, unfortunately. It's just such a huge bummer. And then there's like things that get revealed. There's some surprises in there, but it's just like, what? None of it really. It wasn't like shocking or anything. It was just like, oh, okay, all right.
No, it for me it was like this is just my experience with the movie. But it's almost as if the movie knew that I had lost all interest, so it was like trying to get me back. Like, hey, well, what about this? And I'm just like, nah, dude, I'm done with you. I'm just waiting for the clock to run out so I can move on with my life. I just need this to be over because I got to do it for a podcast. So just let's get there.
Yeah, it sucks, man, but it just missed the mark for me. I feel like just that final act, just they didn't quite nail it for me, and it did cause me to fall off pretty hard. But everything up until that point, I thought was really solid, and I'm still gonna give it like I don't know if I like the lightest recommend I could possibly give. I don't know like who I would recommend this to though. Like I don't think any of my friends or family would be into Honeydew.
Nah, your dad would love Honeydew.
It'd be one of those like, I just don't get it.
Explain it to me, Adam.
Yeah, I don't think he would be. Actually, he really likes movies that involve creepy or weird families.
See, I'm
But
telling you.
I don't think that he would be on board with this
I
in general.
Yeah, that's just. You're right though. Like there is that slight recommendation because of like the first two acts, like you said, and there's like that, like the sound design slash score, whatever you want to call it, all the everything that goes into that, like all the wonky sound effects and how it's like incorporated into the score, and it's just really off-putting. Like to me, that's almost worth the price of admission. Like to check that, like I don't know what I can compare that to. You know what I mean? Like I don't have other examples that I can be like, oh, it's like such and such. Like it
Right.
feels wholly unique in that aspect.
Yeah. And it makes for an extremely unsettling movie experience, which I really enjoyed. So I think that coupled with the performances and the very well done camera work and cinematography, I think that all of that warrants a light recommend. I just think that narratively it just missed the mark for me, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
Honeydew will be out on VOD platforms this week, so keep an eye out for that. I believe Tuesday. I believe this Tuesday it'll be available, so you can check it out. Let's go ahead and give it a score.
I would also like to do some spoilers.
Okay, yeah.
If you don't mind. Because there's a couple things I want to talk about.
There's a couple things. There's definitely a couple things that we can talk about in the spoiler discussion. We'll put that on at the very end of the show. So if you want to hear us talk some spoilers about Honeydew, just listen all the way to the very end. Let's go ahead and give it a score for now. I think this is a tough one for me because, like I said, there were a lot of aspects that I thought were really strong, like technically. So I think that I'm sitting at like a 5.5 on this one, like 5.5.
Yeah, I'm at a 5, I think.
All right, there you have it. All right, let's talk about some of what I've been watching. As I said at the top of the show, I didn't really have a whole lot on my list this week because I've been watching some 90s stuff. But I did catch up with that movie Slaxx on Shudder, which is about a killer pair of jeans.
Please, for everyone listening, tell us how it's spelled.
It is spelled Slaxx.
Yep, thank you. Because I was trying to search for this movie for so long until you slacked me. And then I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
This is directed by Elza Kephart. It's a comedy if it's a horror comedy if you weren't already aware from the title. This is a Canadian horror comedy. It takes place in a clothing store that's sort of like, I don't know, any trendy clothing store, any one of them. You could just name one, and it's like that. And it is about it's a new line of jeans that are coming out that are like form fitting. So they like resize themselves to use. They're like one size fits all jeans. But it turns out that even though the company says that they're like fair trade and organic and like no child labor, no sweatshops, all this stuff, like they're just totally lying. And it turns out that there was a young child involved in an accident in the cotton fields where they were sourcing their cotton, and the spirit of this child enters the jeans and starts getting her revenge.
Yes.
It's kind of humorous. To be honest with you, it took me like 4 days to get through it. I kept having all of these like false starts with it. So I'd watch a little bit and then end up having to turn it off or fall asleep or something. But I don't mean to say that to diminish the movie in any way. It's fine. It really wasn't, I don't know, average at best, I would say.
Okay.
I wouldn't give it a recommend at this point.
Understandable.
You do get to see a pair of jeans kill people. So if you're looking for that, if you're looking for jeans not only do they kill them, but they drink their blood. So it kills people, but it also drinks their blood.
Okay. Interesting. I wonder if there is anyone out there, imagining someone waking up in the morning and be like, God damn, I wish there was a movie about genes killing people and drinking their blood.
Well, hey, we have movies about killer everything, so why not genes? You got killer tires, killer pinatas, killer everything.
The possibilities are endless. There's so many things.
There are so many inanimate objects that can be possessed and turned into killing machines.
Yeah.
I think they should remake Maximum Overdrive and just have it be like all machines.
All machines.
Just all machines.
Yeah, I wonder if that's got to be a thing already. That's especially with like all the technological advances. You do your tired little commentary.
Yeah, there's one called Drone or something that's like all about killer drones. Or maybe it's just one killer drone. I can't remember.
What they need to do, because this is happening to me. I mean, I haven't been killed yet, but yet I'm being surrounded by robot mowers. Like all my neighbors have gotten robot mowers, and I hate it. Like I can't stand it. Little fucking bots driving around with razor blades. Shouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm. I should get a robot mower.
Don't do it.
I don't have a mower at all anymore. My mower got washed away in a hurricane.
It's inside the elevator, wherever the elevator is.
Yeah.
Okay. I only watched one other movie, but I watched it on Tubi. I was able to find something on Tubi that works.
Oh my god.
So, like I said last time, surprisingly, Tubi has like a decent amount of like foreign films that just are not available anywhere else. Now, whether those actually work, like you can get subtitles or not, I don't know. I was able to make it work with a movie called Hail. I don't know if that's because this is an Australian movie. So, but it did have subtitles. This is from 2011, and it's fairly straightforward. It's an older man, gets out of prison, gets out of jail. He reunites with the woman that he's been with like his whole life, and they have this like really passionate relationship. But they're also both like alcoholics and drug users, and they're really jealous, and it leads to some things. They kind of overreact to a lot of things. So it's fairly simple. It's just him getting out. He's happy to be out, and he's trying to go straight. He's just trying to get like a regular job, and he just doesn't want to be a criminal anymore. He doesn't want to go back to prison. He's too old for that. And of course, things don't go as planned, as you can imagine, or you wouldn't have a movie. So all that stuff is fairly ho-hum, straightforward. Nothing really exciting, fresh. Nothing along those lines. But I will say the technical aspects of this, the way in which it's shot, the way in which it's edited, like all of those aspects of it really elevate it into something else and makes it something that you should definitely check out. The story, take it or leave. I couldn't care about it. But the craft that's on display here is that I want to see more from this director. And I mean, this thing gets really experimental at a certain point. It goes, you're essentially like watching an experimental short film. It goes to, completely different place. So it takes, a pretty standard, a story that you've seen probably numerous times, but just comes at it from a completely different angle in the way in which it's shown and it's presented. And I would definitely recommend it. It's on Tubi. It's free, as my mom says.
There you go. Check it out on Tubi.
Get your Tubi. But yeah, I see what you're saying now, though. With watching this, the commercials, Like they just throw them in wherever. It just
You're watching this like really experimental scene where it's like all kinds of crazy stuff is happening, and then all of a sudden in the middle of this you get like a Tide Pods commercial. And you're just like, what?
like yeah, and it's weird too because I swear there was times where it would do a commercial break, and then we would come back, and I would watch the movie for like 5 minutes, and then it would go to commercial break. But then when it came back, the next commercial break wasn't for like 32 minutes. Like it's just weird.
Yeah, it's strange. All right. The other tale. I remember seeing the trailer for this back in the day, and thinking that it looked really like visually arresting. I never got a chance to see it, but I will never forget the trailer. All right. The only other one that I saw was called The Power. This is on Shudder also. This is directed by Corinna Faith, and it takes place in London in 1974. And during this time, they were having rolling blackouts throughout the country, and it stars Rose Williams as a nurse, and it's her first night on the job, and she gets into a little bit of trouble, and her boss is basically like, okay, well, since you're like, giving me lip or whatever, now you got to work the night shift, so enjoy that. And she's like really nervous about it because it's her first night, but also she's like, she seems kind of skittish, like she doesn't seem quite sure of herself, and like she clearly had some kind of troubled past, and she seems like she's very uneasy when it comes to being in the dark. And with working the night shift because of these rolling blackouts that are happening all throughout Britain, they plan for it to go dark. And when they say that it's going to go dark, I mean, it is like pitch black in this hospital. And so what you have here is a bit of a supernatural thriller. There's some weird things that start to happen after the lights go out, and you got some creepy employees, you got some awful employees, creepy doctors and like janitors and stuff. And so you never really know if it's really something supernatural that's going on at first, but then it becomes very clear like there's something very, very supernatural going on here. And what you end up having is it's like a little bit of a cross between a haunted house story and a possession story. So it's okay. There was like one scene that I was like really impressed with that looked really cool. But other than that, it's fairly conventional. I really love the setting. I like the hospital setting. I love the 70s aesthetic. So I think it had a lot going for it, but at the end of the day, it was a fairly average kind of supernatural thriller. But Rose Williams does an incredible job in this. She does a lot of like physical acting, and she's definitely a highlight. So if you have Shudder, I would recommend checking it out. Give it a light recommend. It's called The Power. Okay. All right, let's take a look at what we have on VOD this week. We got Brewmance coming out. That's a documentary about craft beer, I think. I'm surprised maybe there is one, but if there isn't, if this is the first, I'm surprised.
Yeah, it seems like the documentary, like the window for documentaries on craft beer, like that window has passed.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the craft beer thing is on its way out. Maybe not. Maybe it's just getting started. Who knows? Also on the 13th, we have The Inheritance. This looks like a horror movie. Some gifts are a curse.
Yeah, it does happen from time to time.
So just be careful. Just be careful out there. We got Honeydew coming out. Our Towns, which is going to be on HBO Max. This is a documentary about just small town America. And I think it profiles a specific 8 cities, including San Bernardino, Sioux Falls, Columbus, Mississippi, Eastport, Charleston, Bend, Oregon.
Hold up here. You're saying Our Towns. and then you're going to cities.
Well, these are like smaller. These are smaller cities. I would say.
Figured you would go to towns. If you're gonna call it our towns, go to towns.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't care. I don't care.
It's a small cities and towns.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna watch this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna either. I don't know why I'm stuck on it.
On the 15th, we have The Banishing. That's going to be on Shudder. It tells the true story of the most haunted house in England. Got a little haunted house tale for you there. On the 16th, we have Rifa. We got Jacob's Wife. I would recommend that. I mentioned that a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
At South by. Monday, we got Beat, or I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not. That's a virtual theatrical release. And then on the 16th is Friday. Okay. All right. That's it for VOD. On Blu-ray, we have Spaceballs coming out in 4K.
Yes.
We have The Wildlife from 1984. Let's see. Dynasty 3D from 1977. It's in Super 3D.
What? Super 3D?
I don't know. Sounds like a 70s marketing gimmick to me.
It does, but I'm curious to see how they upgraded 3D.
Yeah, I don't know. We have Willy's Wonderland, and we covered that on the show a couple weeks back. We got North Shore from 1987. House of Cruel Dolls from 1974. Leap of Faith, that's the William Friedkin documentary about The Exorcist. Got Shrunken Heads from 1994. September 30th, 1955 from 1977. Got the Basher box set, which includes The Prodigal Boxer, The Awakened Punch. I guess it's just those two. Yeah, it's just those two movies. Let's see. We got The Debut from 1977. Got Fukushima 50. Iron Master from 1983. The Children from 1980. That's Trauma. Killer Pinata from 2015. That's about it. What do we have on Criterion this week?
We have one Criterion, and that is History is Made at Night from 1937. And I've actually seen this movie, and it's really, really good. So I definitely suggest watching this one. It's got one of the best movie villains I've ever seen. This guy's just fucking asshole. Just a piece of shit. Bruce Vail. He's obsessive over his wife. I mean, he's just disgusting. And she finds someone else. It's a romantic movie. It's great. I love it.
All right. Yeah, check it out. I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @filmpulse.net and @filmpulsekevin. And if you have a moment, consider reviewing us on iTunes. We'd appreciate that very much. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name is Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week. All right, let's talk about some Honeydew spoilers. I think the big thing is, let's just say it right off the bat, the Lena Dunham cameo in there, which was a little frustrating for me because it felt like they were trying to make it like a big reveal. That's Lena Dunham, and it bothered me. It bothered me that because I couldn't, as soon as I saw her, I wasn't like, oh man, they keep their daughter in a box and they cut off her arms and legs. That's not what I thought. I thought, oh, it's Lena Dunham. You know what I mean? It instantly pulled me out of the experience because it was Lena Dunham.
And also the way in which she plays this character, it came off as a huge joke to me.
Oh, yeah.
This is super silly. Lena Dunham in a box.
and she doesn't have any speaking lines, but she does grunt and groan and pretend like she's not able to eat food. And she's not very good. And it just really it really soured me on the whole thing, which was really. I don't know. I don't really understand how the Lena Dunham thing came about. To be clear, I don't have a problem with Lena Dunham. I know a lot of people do, but I don't necessarily have an issue with her. I just think that, and you could put almost any actor in there, like any famous actor, you put them in that role, and it would probably have a similar effect.
And like really, anyone that's like in more comedic leaning work, like if you had Kate McKinnon pop out and she's doing like her little like can't chew food and she's just blinking wildly, like it comes off as a joke. It comes off as like a comedic bit. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I just what a weird decision. Like I'm not sure how that came about, but yeah, I just it's not. And I just don't think it had the intent. I think it was intended to be like a shocking moment, like a big reveal.
But if you think if it's not Lena Dunham, we're just like, oh fuck, they keep their daughter in a box with her limbs cut off. That's fucked up. Like that's supposed to be a fucked up thing, but it doesn't really come off as a fucked up thing. It comes off as like an SNL skit.
Yeah,
for some reason.
Just weird. I didn't get that. I think that was a huge mistake, and unfortunately.
And there's a couple other things that just kind of bother me about this movie. One is Malambar's character Riley. The whole reason they're out there is she's doing her doctorate on this wheat fungus, right? So she knows all about it. There's really no need for her to be watching the video at the beginning that she does on her phone. That's more for us. But the fact that she's not like more clued in when they get like she has gangrene, for Christ's sake. You know what's going on, or you should. I knew. I only watched the video, the primer video at the beginning of the movie that you watched. We watched the same video, Riley, and you're going for your doctorate. And that was something that bothered me. Like, she did not seem like a character that's going for her doctorate.
She seemed very ill-informed about everything.
Yeah, like, she's just, I mean, plus the fact that I'm pretty sure Karen would be dead. Like, she had advanced gangrene. She was not in good health. Which leads me to another thing with Sam, Steven Spielberg's son. How do you not just fucking destroy Karen?
I thought about that. Early on too. Like, she's an old woman.
She's pretty much dead. Like 15% of her body is dead. It's technically dead. And you're like, you both look and you're like, ooh, pocket knife. Sam, you don't need a pocket knife. There's a table there, and all you had to do is grab her by the hair and just smash her face into the table.
Or just push her on the ground. I feel like someone who's that frail, you just need to push her on the ground and she's done. Like, you push her over, she just instantly breaks every bone in her body.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, all you had to do is just a hard push to the face. Probably would have broken her orbitals.
Yeah, I mean, just to play devil's advocate, I think that one of the things that they were trying to convey is that they were drugged. So they were all like, you know, at a reduced capacity as far as like being able to do things.
I hear your devil's advocate, and I counter with Sam. Let's say like Sam's at 40%. Karen, again, technically 15% of her body is technically dead scientifically. So I feel like all you had to do is a hard push to the knee, and that leg would have went completely backwards, and you win. You triumph.
Yeah, it gets ridiculous. I think we should also say that it doesn't have a happy ending. Basically, the bad guys win in this. Like Karen and her husband Euless, they end up capturing Riley and Sam and lobotomizing both of them, and then I guess the whole point was that they wanted to find a man's so that he could plant his seed in Lena Dunham's character. And they also cut off their arms and legs too, so that's also been handled. So
taken care of.
And then
they eat them. They eat them too. They're also cannibals.
Yes, they do eat them too. Which was another thing that I wasn't even really clear on. I'm like, are they eating? Is that like human meat? It was like, what are they cutting pieces off and eating them? Like, I wasn't clear on that at first, but and poor Gunny didn't make it.
No,
he got the old cattle bolt.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Sam ran to try and get the pocket knife when the cattle bolt was right there. Like, she dropped the cattle bolt in front of you. Again, you don't need the cattle bolt. You could have just waved your arm really fast.
Yeah,
and I think the wind alone would have knocked her out. She's dead. She's fucking dead already. Like, Jesus Christ, Sam. Fucking worthless.
Yep. Just, I don't know. Just not. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Any other things? Anything else to add? Spoiler wise?
No, I just wish it was more focused on the fungal stuff and not just like, oh, they're cannibals and they're fucked up and they have a daughter in a box.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with that as long as it incorporated something else into it, like, I don't know, maybe something more with the fungus stuff, like it makes them go even crazier, or like,
because like at least with the fungus stuff, it's like, okay, that's something different, slightly different. That's not overdone like crazy cannibal family out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's Honeydew.